everybody. Welcome back to Behind the Joystick. I'm your host today, Cordy Yikes, and here with me is ZechTech. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Feeling really good today.
Good. For viewers that don't know who you are, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Zach Tech, or you can just call me Zach. That's my real name.
Perfect.
I am a Rocket League caster and coach. I do a bit of the broadcasting side, and then pretty much everything within esports, as far as a little bit of media here and there and whatnot. But right now, mainly casting coaching is what I tend to do in the Rocket League scene.
That is awesome. What made you get started into all of this?
Yeah, so actually, I started in college. I mean, I've been a gamer for many years. Played Minecraft way back in like version 1.2 or something.
Oh wow.
Um, But yeah, I was like first year Overwatch, first year Apex. But esports really got going for me in college. 2020 actually. So 2019, I had joined the esports Discord for my college, Oregon State. And then 2020 came around. I just been sort of, just chilling out in the Discord. But then they said, "Hey, we want to build a media team. Start broadcasting these matches." And the week before that, literally, I had binge watched every single OBS Studio tutorial I could find because I was just like, "This seems really cool. I'd love to maybe know this just in case." And then this, and I'm like, "I might as well." And so,
Right.
like, yeah. I got some knowledge. I could help out. And they're like, cool. You're the only one who's anything about OBS Studio. So you're our head producer. And I'm like,
Oh,
so
awesome.
right in the deep end, figuring out production, running all that. Just started sort of broadcasting the games when not getting in lobbies for Oregon State. And then from there, started watching the Rocky League team and broadcasting them. That was super cool. I'm like, man, this game looks really fun. I realized it's
Yeah.
been in my Steam library for 4 years. I've just never opened it. And I was just like, I should play this game, which is crazy because I played soccer for 14 years, all the way from I was 4 years old through high school. And so, like, you'd think this would be like the perfect game for me. For some
Right.
reason, never opened it. Opened it, I'm like, this is fantastic. A couple months pass. The Rocket League team's like, hey, you've played a little bit and everything, sort of know the game a bit better. Do you want to do casting? What if I have a caster? And I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. So I hopped on cameras, the dinky webcam I had, and my microphone and everything. Started casting. Absolutely loved it, enjoyed it. I am weirdly, I am stage shy when I am talking just about like myself or topic I'm not so familiar with. But once I like either get into
Right.
character or talk about something I really enjoy, I'm on it. I'm going. And so I was absolutely a blast. Did that for
Right.
about a year with them, just developing my skill, getting some co-casters, roping some other people in to help cast. And then I realized, hold on, there's a whole like market for this outside of this. Like orgs are asking for casters and everything. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So start throwing my name out there, do some free casts here and there, and then eventually have worked my way up. Done some RLCS team streams for the pro leagues, just on their sort of independent channels for the APAC region, SSA, stuff like that. I've done
That's
broadcasts
awesome.
for Sam. Um, yeah, so I had an absolute blast doing that. And then also sort of in the first like year or two was like, I'm pretty decent at Rocket League. I'm pretty good. I know a lot of the mental side from soccer.
Yeah.
Of course, the skill side on the sticks itself is a whole different ballgame. Because as most players who know who've tried Rocket League, there is no transferable skills whatsoever.
No.
It's not like an FPS where you can be like, I can point and click or whatever. No,
Yes.
Rocket League,
No.
it's a whole new ballgame. So,
Yeah, it is.
mentality wise, strategy, all that. I was pretty good, pretty decent. So got into coaching. Just started out with like elementary, middle school, and whatnot. Through a couple of different programs, and then start working my way up, doing one-on-one coaching and whatnot.
That's
And
awesome.
now we're here, and I'm looking for maybe a bigger team, collegiate, semi-pro, something like that, to really hop on as a coach and really dive more into that because I've really enjoyed coaching. I mean, casting,
Right.
still absolutely love it, still do it. I've actually got a cast tonight with Cobalt Esports.
That's
Recently started
awesome.
org, which is awesome. But
Well, I
yeah,
hope they
so that's sort
win.
of yeah. Well,
That's
they're
awesome.
putting on the tournament.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
2v2 tourney going on tonight. So
Nice.
super excited to cast that. But
So
yeah, it's
you
gonna
would
gonna
say
be good.
that this was like a blessing in disguise during that pandemic, right? Like, I mean, you have
Oh
all that
yeah.
time in the world to learn OBS and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Stuck at home anyways.
yeah,
Really got to be a part of a community, build a community. Really helped me get through the pandemic a lot. So
for sure.
yeah, yeah,
That is
yeah,
awesome. And then so you mentioned that you coached for like elementary and middle school. How do you do that? How is
yeah,
that a
yeah.
thing?
So there are a couple of programs I have coached through Vanta leagues, and then there was another one, Valhalla Esports, which is now just an in-person thing. The online has gotten shut down.
Mhm.
Um, But they basically contact schools and are like, "Hey, we run a league. Do you want to be part of it? We'll give you a coach and everything." Um, Actually, very similar to a job I recently did this last spring with a company called Vessel, which is in North Carolina. They run the sort of league there with the school system in North Carolina. And I got to coach a high school there, which was super fun. We actually got
That's awesome.
first place in our sort of circuit, which was great. Our region, a lot of fun. Went to state land regional, got top four, and yeah, that was an absolute blast.
That's
But yeah,
cool.
so a couple little programs here and there that do that.
How do you like coach in between like the different age levels from in the, younger ages to like now maybe even the like collegiates, like how do you kind of foster that?
Yeah, yeah. I think. Ooh, I mean, it comes down to like their skill level with the game and
Mhm.
also their comfortability working with a team and like being coached.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have kids who come over from other sports and whatnot and are used to like having a coach. Like, okay, I listen to this person. They'll give me some information, how to do this or that. I'll go try it. We'll do it there. We'll come back. Other kids are like, I just kind of play this game for fun. My mom signed me up. And
Right.
so I'm just here to maybe learn a thing or two. And so it's a whole different thing. I'm like, okay, well, let's do some more like activities, some maybe more fun things to rope you in. And then within that, I'll give some coaching and some pointers here and there. Um, so that we're still getting that improvement, but we're also having fun.
That's for sure. I feel like it's a you have to like for football coaches, you see on the TV they're throwing things and yelling and hollering. Like I don't really see that in the like esports side, but I could not imagine trying to teach a first or second grader to to be a pro player or even like even try to compete because they're gonna be bored or they're like, I don't want to play this. I want to play Roblox.
Yeah, yeah. I will say a lot of the kids who sign up tend to at least want some coaching or want some sort of community or team activity in that way.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't always have to necessarily rope them in like that,
That's
but it
good.
is definitely different in that like you're not really trying to go pro with a lot of the middle school, elementary stuff like that. Even some of the high schools aren't trying to go pro, but it's just more that sort of vibe of other high school sports of hey, I'm here to have a good time, just compete with other high schoolers, and just do well within that league. And so, yeah, it definitely depends though. I will say my high scores this last season super competitive. We're really trying to do their best and get up there. And we had some great times. I just, as my coaching style tend to not like yell at things, but I'll get
Right.
excited when they're doing well and be like, "Yeah, that's it. Let's go, guys." And so,
That's
yeah.
awesome. With coaching, what would you say is like one skill or maybe one mindset that you would believe that all your players would need to try to make it to the next level?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that helps players grow is an analytical mind as well as a team based point of view. Both to sort of analyze what's happening on the field, what their opponents are doing, but also being able to see what their teammates are doing and able to support that and sort of adapt the overall play style to what their team needs to really push ahead and do better. Now, of course, in Rocket League and most video games, there are ways you can sort of carry a bit, but there are points once you get more competitive where that just doesn't work. You can be the best player on the field and you'll still get absolutely trashed if your teammates just are not working well with you.
Right.
And so, a big thing is sort of like, hey, can you be that support player as well as that playmaker to really be that person to help in that way?
That's awesome. What would you say is your like most memorable moment in coaching right now?
Um, I would say this last spring when I was coaching in high school, we got to the conference finals. Now technically, I was coaching two schools within that conference, just with the way
Oh, wow.
the system worked and the way it assigned coaches. And my two teams had not played each other the entire season until they both got to the finals. Which I mean, as a coach, super proud, super great. But we get there and I'm like, okay, how's this gonna work? Okay, all right, guys, bringing it. Here's how we're gonna do. When one team loses, I'll coach that team after that game. If another team loses, I'll coach that team after that game. But basically, whoever's behind, I'll be coaching them. Does that sound fair? And they're like, yeah, it sounds totally fair. It's like, okay,
Right.
awesome. So two teams, very sort of different in but similar in different ways in that one team was overall lower rated, but very similar in rating among the players and
Mhm.
super team focused and supporting each other, building each other up, versus the other team had one really good player and two players who just kind of be there, try to support and whatnot. And so, sort of these different dynamics in the two teams, and it was this best of five series. First game, my teamwork team came out, absolutely destroyed the first game, and so I hopped over to the other voice chat. I'm like, okay, guys, hold on, let's work as a team here. Let's maybe try to shore up these rotations and everything. Okay, cool. Second game, other team, the one player team, the higher rated team, won game two. So I hop over to the other Discord. I'm like, okay,
Oh,
guys,
no.
let's shore up this way. And then that team won game three, and then the other team got one game four. So we get to game five.
Oh my
It's two and
gosh.
two. The last two games went to overtime. We played a whole extra 5 minutes, like an extra game of Rocket League of overtime.
Yeah.
So we get to game five, we go to overtime again, and then 20 seconds after kickoff, it's a perfect passing play from my teamwork team to score it, and they go absolutely wild. And it was so much fun to just see that and cheer them on. Like, you guys did it!
Yeah,
Like they
that's
went
awesome.
undefeated the entire season, only dropped a game in that finals, but they made it happen game five. And it was just so much fun to see all the players just really grow and absolutely
Right.
go bonkers that victory.
That is awesome. I feel like that would also be hard, especially probably in like normal sports, being one football coach to both teams, because it's like you know each other's
I couldn't
play-by-plays.
imagine.
That would be so bad.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
with coaching and casting outside of Rocket League, this one's kind of like a fun one. What game would you want to coach or cast if you could?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, if I were to go through into like a regular sport, probably soccer. I'm most familiar, and I tend to enjoy that one the most, just as a team sport.
Right.
Um, I mean, I did grow up watching football as well, though, with my dad, so wouldn't mind some football.
Right.
Um, and then I don't know, other esports, I don't watch a whole lot, but oh man, that's tough. I feel like there's so many good esports that like have their great moments that are elevated by coaching and everything. And so,
Right.
it's a tough one. Like I think it's between like Overwatch, Valorant, and League of Legends, just
Ooh,
because like
okay.
they're all can be fast paced in certain times. I feel like League is sort of at the bottom of that just because I'm the least familiar, and it can
Right.
be quite a grind as far as the game compared to the other ones. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Another one, let's see. So, people that want to be into coaching or casting, I know that there are completely two different, like, um, what is the weird word? Careers. What advice would you say, or would you give for someone that wants to be either a coach or a caster, or even both, like you? What would that advice be?
Yeah, I think a baseline is being able to analyze the game and figure out what's going on from an outside perspective. When
Hmm.
you're not, at one of the players on the field, to be able to figure out, okay, what's happening here, what's going well for these teams, why is it going well for these teams, and then spinning in different directions for casting is how you build a storyline out of that. Like, how do you go, okay, this team came in maybe with this mentality because they're second in the league. And so they got this pressure to maybe push to four first, but they're not worried about being kicked out of playoffs. And so they can play maybe a bit more relaxed, but still push. Versus the other team maybe is playing to get into playoffs. So they're more stressed, they're got more pressure on them. And so you can have these different storylines you can talk to and whatnot and say, one team's really struggling. Oh, is the pressure getting to them? Is the stress getting to them? Or are they too relaxed? Are they just
Right.
not trying hard enough because they're like, we're getting into playoffs anyway. We can let this game go.
Mm.
And sort of this overarching story, but also the game to game story of like this team's strategies right now destroying the other one because they're becoming being so physical and team's just not prepared for that. I really going to spin these storylines at these different levels of overarching, like the league, the series, the individual game, and even like the individual
Right.
players of like this one player, game one came out, didn't do very well. Game two was all of a sudden scoring every single goal. It's like, okay, he turned it on. Game one was the wake up call for him. Now he's, absolutely putting it home.
That's
And sort of being
awesome.
able to really tell those stories, sort of not get caught up in the negativity maybe of the like, man, he's got to be beating himself up over that, but also like, hey, what are these players doing maybe to feel good, to help each other? What they need to do is like, oh, is it the communication? Um, and so really able to sort of communicate that to the audience. What do you see that they don't? And what can you make simpler for them? And maybe as someone who isn't familiar with that high level play of why is this team doing so well? I hit the ball like that all the time and I just score.
Right.
And so being able to explain like, oh, what's this rotation here? You can see on going on the backboard and whatnot. Um, that's pretty huge for casting. And then as far as the coaching, I think a big part of it is the combination of strategy and mentality,
Mhm.
being able to support the mentality of like, hey guys, we can take a hit, we can rebound. You've played ranked sessions before where you have lost 3 games in a row, but then came back and won 10. So like it is
Mhm.
absolutely possible. Just because you take one loss doesn't mean you have to take another one.
For
Um,
sure.
and then the strategy side of like, hey, right now the other team, they're playing slow. They're actually controlling the ball. And so one thing you can do to counter that is play fast, play physical. Don't give them the opportunity to control that ball. And then their play style is going to break down. You're going to get victory that way. And
Yeah.
so, trying to really see that and communicate that to your players in a way that they can understand and put into practice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know we've talked about the highs and some advice too. What would you say is like something that was memorable that was like the worst part of like being either a coach and watching your team lose or even in the casting part watching a team you were really into the story with and seeing that, the fall that they pretty much put on themselves. What would be that memory?
Yeah. I think, there's a couple times where I've had teams as a coach that have just really struggled with the mentality or the pressure. Maybe they get onto the stage of a LAN and just the crowd and the lights are just so much. It's so
Yeah.
overwhelming and then they can't play their best. Um, a lot of that comes down to the end being like, hey, you guys still you showed up, you played, and that is commendable. Really taking the victories where you can of like you guys showed up, you played your hearts out even though you didn't do your best, you
Mhm.
gave what you could that day. You can't expect
Right.
yourself to be absolutely perfect in an environment you haven't played in before. And so, really being forgiving, helping them forgive themselves and really accept the victories that they did take that day is a big thing. I think as far as casting goes, also highlighting what the players did do well in that series. Like, hey, they may have lost, but they show that they can score and that this other
Mhm.
team is not invincible. And so going forward, other teams are going to face them. Hey, we have something we can analyze, see here what worked. Let's do that against that team when we have to play them. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think it's really just sort of seeing the little victories and highlighting those for the players.
For sure. For sure. Now, before all of this, what were you doing before the casting and the coaching? What got you like Yeah, no, before all of this, like what were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, sports wise, I played 14 years of soccer. I started when I
Mhm.
was 4 years old, went all the way through high school, played on the varsity team. I was a goalie, so a lot of the like, I'm seeing the field all the time. I'm trying to communicate and do things. So almost like a mini coach on the field,
Right.
for what I was doing there. I also played 4 years of baseball, 2 years of basketball, in sort of the elementary, middle school times. Um, just having fun with that. So a lot of knowledge of like how different paced games go and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Have a lot of fun there. As far as like work and career wise,
Mhm.
going into college, I was double majoring in mechanical engineering and music production,
Oh, wow.
which very very different.
Yes.
Uh, a lot of work, and yeah, I pushed through it. I struggled for like 3 years, and then hearing back from other engineers who had graduated and then came back and been like, yeah. It's a lot of desk work. You don't actually do a lot of the building and like fun stuff that you get to do in your classes and stuff like that. Like, oh,
Right.
I
Oh,
prefer, a little more hands-on or in the field, not necessarily just sitting at a desk going, this number will work. Yes, let's put that there. All right, hands off to somebody else. Nah, next project.
right.
So I was like, okay, not really my thing. I still use it from time to time. I have a 3D printer that I use,
That's
which is
awesome.
super fun.
So
Yeah, graduated with my music degree though.
that's
Um,
good.
and so yeah, I do mixing and mastering. I help record things. I'll make little musical things here and there. Haven't done a whole lot recently just because I've been more focused on my day job, which
Mhm.
is property maintenance.
Oh, that is awesome. You're a man
um,
with many talents.
yes, yes. If from someone who knew me going through high school and then later came back through college was like, "You're the guy who did everything, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I was the one who was
Yes.
in marching band and scout and Boy Scouts and was an honor student and played
That is
soccer
awesome.
all in the same term." Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, and
getting
I was
into
like,
this
yeah.
before you know the coaching and the casting, what advice would you give yourself going to take that leap? Like what advice would you tell the younger self?
Yeah, I'd say a big thing is always asking for help as well
Mm,
as going to people to help for improvement and like critique. I think is a big thing.
yeah.
Finding support in that way. A big thing through my casting journey was actually a guy named Kendo Slice, who helped run sort of the official collegiate talent for like casting stuff. And he's a caster himself, and so like the collegiate Rocket League broadcast was talent that sort of he would pick out and put on that stream and whatnot. And he held a workshop for any aspiring casters and whatnot in the collegiate
That's
space.
awesome.
So I owe him a lot. Huge shout out to Kendo Slice. Great guy. I got to saw him at RLCS Worlds back in September, which was awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. That was so much fun. Actually, it's where I got this chair.
Oh, sick. That's
um,
awesome.
but yeah, so I would say being a part of the community is huge. Chatting with people, really saying like, hey, what do you like about that caster? What do you like about that coach? Like, what works well? What do they do well? How can I do that? How can I do that? I'll put my spin on it because you don't want to
Mhm.
just directly copy. You want to adapt and make it your own.
For
And so
sure.
that's a big thing actually recently for me is within coaching, creating sort of my sort of system of how I teach to higher level players. And so I've taken from people like HV Havoc Luke, as well as Ronskian, watching videos from Verge, and sort of seeing how they talk about the game and their analysis, and then
Yeah.
putting it within my own framework of like, okay, this is maybe how I see it, and how I can take those tips and tricks and whatnot, how that fits into my idea of how the game can flow.
Right.
Um, yeah, so that's sort of how I would recommend doing it: is really getting in the community, asking for help and critique, and seeing what works.
Awesome. That is so cool. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and tell us that, there's more than just being the person on the controller. Like if you're a pro player or you're in the collegiate space and you want to do other things other than gaming, there's so many options and pretty much many opened windows. That anyone can take, and I appreciate you showing us a few of those. Is there any socials that you want to drop below before the end of this?
Absolutely. I'm on X, Twitter, at ZechTechno. So my name, as you might see it on the screen, but with an extra NO at the end, tying into my music roots of techno.
Yes.
Yeah, at ZechTechno. Also on Twitch, ZechTechno there as well. Through both, you can find links to my coaching platform on Coachify, as well as my Discord. You can join my Discord server. You can chat with me, find coaching there, or just chatting, hanging out. So, yeah, I
Awesome.
think Twitch and Twitter are the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And we will go ahead and we'll put those also in the description below so you can definitely go check him out. And until next week, we hope you have a good one. Bye, guys.